Hope you can all hear me okay. Thanks for joining us again and welcome to our coffee mornings. I'm Paul Ragger, I'm the event director with London Canna Group. So I head up all of our event series, the Europe Canna Expo. So this year we only ran the event in Dublin in March. So we postponed London and we postponed Zagreb. So watch this space, ready for next year. So today on the Coffee Talks, we're joined by Sam Mallach. Sam's the Director of Global Business Development, and Andrew Megahy, which is the Lead Science Officer. Both the guys are with Always Pure Organics. So thanks very much for joining us, lads. I'm glad you could join us.
We're pleased to be here.
Happy to be here.
Great. So just a quick overview for you all about Always Pure. So they're a cannabis company based in Manchester. They operate manufacturing and distribution stage of the supply chain, covering bulk raw ingredients and also white label products. They have a very close relationship with Pure Cannabis, which is their supplier based in Switzerland. So this enables them to control the entire supply chain from seed to sale. So obviously that ensures the quality and consistency of their product lines. They were founded only 2 years ago, actually, in a spare room, from what I understand, with 3 employees and a £400 startup capital. So they've moved on in leaps and bounds over the last couple of years and now are up to 20 members of staff with a turnover in excess of £5 million in the second year. Nicely done, lads. That's pretty good going in 2 years. They've also got satellite offices in Japan and Southeast Europe, and also in Ireland as well. So obviously that gives them a pretty reliable distribution network across Europe and obviously into Asia as well. They process and extract the plants within the Pure facilities, which is near Zurich, Switzerland. And they basically offer a one-stop shop for any company, really, to incorporate cannabinoids into their product ranges. So they operate across a range of sectors: medical, cosmetics, foods, and also vape as well. And I'm particularly interested, guys, in the work that you do with your bespoke formulations for the actual topicals. So obviously within the medical cosmetics sector, really. But, you know, I'll give you a bit of time before we dive straight into that. So, you know, to start off with, if we'll start with you, Sam. If you can give us, you know, a little bit of background about yourself, how you've entered the CBD space, and well, pretty much what excites you about it, really, and then obviously the same for yourself, Andrew.
Thanks, Paul, for the introduction. We're happy to be here. My role at Always Pure Organics is to look after the operations here. As you say from the introduction, we've grown pretty rapidly over a short period of time. I've been with the company just over a year, and overseeing, now we're shipping products to around 40 different countries, which is great for us. My background was actually in the catering sector. I was in the restaurant trade for many years, got into the vaping sector after that, and started to learn about CBD and cannabis plant in general. Fell in love with the plant, really wanted to use it to help people. Here we've seen a lot of people without anecdotal evidence, and especially using topicals and other products really helps them to improve their lives, whether it's for anxiety or acne or these type of things. So although we can't make medical claims, we've seen lots of very positive steps from the plant and from working in the CBD space. So that's really why I'm in it, you know, to grow this company, to help people, and there you go.
Excellent, thanks, Sam. What about yourself, Andrew? What's your background?
Yeah, so originally I was studying at Stirling University and got my degree in biology. Graduated right as Brexit got announced, so there was a bit of a problem getting a job. Turns out a lot of science funding comes from the EU, and so I was working in the manufacturing, filling bottles and putting caps on things. And Gav and I were having a discussion one morning about just the science behind CBD, and he was impressed by my knowledge just from stuff I'd read from working at the company. Obviously, from being from a science background, I was just the reason I got into it was just I liked learning new things. And at the time, CBD was so new, and I'd never heard anything of it. And I was just so interested in it that I got asked, would you want to head up a science division? So we've recently, just in the last 3 months, we've taken on another science personnel. So we've actually got a team now, and we're hoping to expand it into a full department within the company. We've got some exciting projects going on, one of which is obviously the novel foods application. I'm just really excited to see where we can go within this space with all the backing from Pure and their science team and their research that they've got going on.
Excellent, thanks. Yeah, well, we'll touch on that to start with if we can, guys. Your partnership that you have with Pure. I'm sure the audience is, quite interested to find out a little bit more about your whole production cycle, really. Obviously, I understand, that they are your strategic partner, and they do quite a lot based around the actual research into the plant itself. So obviously they can come up with their own strains, that type of thing. Obviously, just a little sort of touch on that if you could for us, please, Andrew, just really covering, a little bit more about the extraction process and also sort of like your research facilities, really. And then we'll move on to what you guys do with regards to the FSA guidelines.
Sure thing. So Pure, based in Switzerland, they've got an outdoor grow, which is, I want to say about 50,000 square meters, could be more now, that's probably a bit outdated, but the last I heard it was around about that size. It's one of the largest in Europe. They've also got an indoor grow. The whole facility is absolutely incredible, and they do tours as well, which is just amazing to go and see all these fields of hemp just in their natural habitat, basically. So they have it all grown there in Switzerland. Switzerland's got a 1% THC limit on their hemp, which, because CBD and THC are so linked in the plant, the higher the THC limit, the higher you can have of CBD produced. So that lets them get quite efficient extraction from the plant. All the extraction's done at their facility, and they mill it down, they extract with their solvent, winterize it, recrystallize it, all the different aspects of the process. It is a patent pending process, if I'm remembering correctly.
On the ethanol extraction?
Yeah, on their ethanol extraction that they use. So unfortunately I can't go into too much depth, but it's quite a sight to see all the machinery plugging away and folk in lab coats scurrying about. So once it's all extracted and produced, they can package it up in proper GMP packaging and fire it across to us, and we do distribution and sales.
I think if I just jump in there, I was going to say it's quite important for us with the Swiss angle, because it's our belief that the Swiss plants are some of the best that you can get, especially for CBD. So they're, as Andrew was saying, they have an amazing facility, but also the research that they have going on there as well is very important. So for us, it was important to find a strategic partner that we feel grows the best quality product you can find with the EU approved strains. So my opinion, or our opinion, is that the Swiss products are really, really good quality CBD plants. And then obviously as they're getting extracted and turned into things like isolate and distillate, we've found that their quality is very, very high.
Yeah, well, that was my feeling as well, really, guys, because I met with the chaps over at Pure. Originally, I met them in, was it Canatrade over in Zurich, actually. Okay. And yeah, and the thing is as well, because, the way the like you say, the Swiss market, the way that is, because, with CBD flower, let's say, it's used as a replacement, isn't it, to help people get off the tobacco products. That's how it's sold in across a range of the stores there. So I must say they've obviously, they're ahead of the game really, and they've obviously put a lot of effort into producing the right strains and obviously making sure they've got a full traceability within their network, So
yeah, sure. And then obviously from our side, we want to be that sort of one-stop shop for CBD cannabis products. So we believe in what they're doing, and then once products come back over to us in the UK, then we can go and create a range of white label products. We have lots of white label clients that we work with to make things like you touched upon, cosmetic and bespoke formulations. That is where we add value into the chain.
Yeah, so basically you get I guess you get the raw oil come across to you like direct from Switzerland. Is that how it works? Yeah, and then you just package it up and then take it from there. Is that how they do it?
So yeah, we would receive sort of isolated CBD in obviously an isolated form, or we also do quite a lot of distillates as well. So like I was saying, how we would add value then is we'd take that product and make it into a range of other products, CBD patches, cosmetics, a range of tinctures. We use quite a lot of terpenes as well. So we're trying to add value in this crowded marketplace, add value to the end customer.
So with your isolate products then, would you re-add terpenes into the products before they go out on sale, as it say, or would you?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
We've got one of our clients in Japan. They're very keen on I think it's been termed terpsilate, which is isolate with terpenes added. So we've got a range of like 5 flavors, and it was a bit of a nightmare shipping to Japan because they're very tight on their customs. But the isolate's great because it's such a pure product, if you'll pardon the pun, and because there's so little THC that it's almost completely undetectable. Well, it is completely undetectable because it's so low. Modern testing apparatus can't test low enough to detect the absolute minute amount of residue. So you're looking at 99.6, 99.8% pure CBD. So if you add some terpenes to it, the Japanese customers are perfectly happy to accept it. But we also offer just the normal isolate as well in bulk.
Yeah, and I'll just go back to the finish on the terpenes. We think it's a great product. So we have a partner in Spain who specialises in terpenes. So we're happy to use other strategic partners whose expertise is something slightly different to our own. So I'm personally a very big believer in terpenes, so you can add them into the product at the end and create a full, sort of better rounded product. As we sort of move into the novel foods questions, that might be a little bit tricky, but right for now, yeah, we're quite a big believer in things like terpenes.
Yeah, well, that led on quite nicely then, Sam. Because, yeah, surprisingly, because that was where I was going with it, really, because, obviously we had the Mile High guys on last week, and that was one of the questions that actually came up. Because for the whole FSA guidelines, obviously you're submitting your products based upon your isolate rather than any of your distillates. So if you could tell us a little bit more about that, sort of pretty much how you've been working towards it, really, what stage you're at, and, because of obviously, we've had the changes recently as well, where originally the EU were, everything was submitted, I guess, to the EFSA, and now they've sort of put the blockers on that a little bit with their potential idea that CBD would now be classed as a narcotic. So I'm guessing once we then come out of the EU, come the 1st of January, you're then going to have to resubmit all of your work again to the FSA here in the UK and pretty much start that process ready to, what is it, for the 21st of March, I believe, is the cut-off day now, as to when the sort of regulations change. So if you could sort of give us a little bit about that and sort of where you are and then what your sort of plans are moving forward, I guess, for also your distillate products and also the products like with added terpenes. So
sure. I think that's more definitely. So you're right. Our original plan from the announcement of the novel foods was that we were going to submit at the end of October. That would give us enough time to compile what we hoped was a suitably detailed and sufficient dossier that it would get validated, and then hopefully with probably some feedback from the FSA that there would be approval within the time frame. So our plan hasn't been changed by the announcement from the EC, the European Commission, that they might be considering CBD as a narcotic. We're still planning to submit in October, what's going to happen instead is that we will simply be sending our dossier straight to the FSA, which is the UK version. So they'll look over it and come back to us with feedback sort of on an informal basis, which is how they're recommending people do it. And then, assuming that the European Commission doesn't make a decision before the 21st of January, we will then be submitting properly to the FSA, like, I don't know the words left me at the moment, but like an actual submission, because it's in January where it's switching over from the European Commission to the Food Standards Agency. We'll be handling all UK applications from that date. I don't expect that the European Commission will actually make a decision until then. I can't imagine these things are going to happen very quickly. But we are, as a company, we've made it very clear that we're opposed to the stance that CBD is a narcotic. There's a few regulators who we've been working quite closely with, and they intend to challenge that claim with the backing of several businesses in the hopes of having it not be classified as narcotic so that people can more readily access it. So as to the dossier itself, we're going with a risk-based approach from guidance from these same regulators and also from the team at FERA, the Food and Environment Research Agency. We work quite closely with them. They do a lot of testing for our products. They do the best testing that we've seen. We've tested with a couple of different companies, and FERA are consistently coming back with the best services, the best tests, the most help, the most informative. So we're quite happy to be working with them for our novel foods application. So we're going with the risk-based approach, which is where we compile publicly available information on the toxicity. There's a lot of information out there. There were around about 40,000 papers on CBD the last time I checked. So there's a lot of publicly available information, and if we can go purely off of that, rather than have to do our own toxicity testing, it keeps costs down, which means that we don't have to sell our product as expensively, and it's also more ethical. It means we don't have to go through animal testing, where typically for a 90-day toxicity test, you would test the product at varying strengths on rats in a laboratory, and then at the end of the test, the rats have to be euthanized. So we obviously don't want to have to go through that if we don't have to. If you imagine how many companies are wanting to put in a novel foods application, it just doesn't make sense. You'd be looking at thousands of rats probably. And there's no point when all the available information is publicly available for you to use in a dossier. So the Commission on Toxicology, which is an independent organisation in the UK, they have released some information regarding what information, they will be releasing some information this month regarding what information is lacking for CBD. So from their opinion, what still needs looked at. There's a lot of different aspects of the novel foods application in regards to toxicology. So hopefully when they clarify this and the FSA uses that to then say, okay, when you put in your application, we're okay with you saying this, this and this are all fine from risk-based, but you will need to do your own testing because there isn't enough information available on this one subject. So that's why we're still hoping for an October date, is that we can get this information from them. Even if we don't have the information itself, say if the information comes out in mid-September and we start our toxicity testing for, say, genotoxicity is the one thing we don't have information for, we then wouldn't have enough time to the end of October to get that information finished. But we can submit the dossier to the FSA and say, we are currently undergoing this testing. We don't have the information right now, but we will get it and we'll provide it as soon as it's available. And there'll be a lot back and forth between whatever company is submitting and the relevant authority. The whole process is set up such that you get information from them, you answer questions, they come to you with any advice, any guidance like that. And that's about it. It's quite a lot.
Yeah. And just to clarify, that's for the CBD isolate. So yes, we're doing our own application here at Always Pure Organics for the CBD isolate. When it comes to distillates, it's a grey area, and I think that the first application will be the isolate, and then we can learn from that process. both us and the regulators, I think, need to work together in this. There seems to be some confusion over what exactly needs to be done. So we have to just see how it goes.
Definitely.
Yeah, no, I fully appreciate that. I guess, you know, you guys are pretty much helping to train up the regulators, really.
There's a scary thought.
I think, look, like as you know, some of our other companies in this space have said previously, I think it's important that, you know, as an industry, especially in the UK, this will be the first country in the world to go down this route, to have a fully legalized, you know, food supplement. So it's quite important to do, you know, to work together to get that over the line as an industry, in, you know, as a whole.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you know, moving away from that, because obviously, you know, the novel food guidelines only apply for anything that's going to be consumed. So, you know, we touched on it earlier with your, you know, your bespoke formulations for topicals. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and sort of why you're putting a lot of effort into that side of things? Because, you know, my understanding and some of the feedback that we get from people is that, you know, the topicals work brilliantly for some, but for others, they can be using exactly the same product and not actually get any benefit at all. So can you give us a little bit of sort of background about your research into that and why you feel that's going to be such a big area moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's my question to answer. I mean, we're a massive believer here in topicals. I think that they can be used for a great benefit. To answer your question about why some people are different to others, I think that's the case with any CBD product. You know, it's not one size fits all. Mm-hmm. But with topicals also, we found is that there's a very low percentage of CBD being put into the product. So we're trying to push this up. So our products regularly contain 1,000 milligrams, 1,500 milligrams in our balms, lotions, creams. Because obviously if you're putting in 100 milligrams in a product, 50 mil, 100 ml of finished product, then you're getting very, very little benefit because you're getting very, very little CBD. So we are working with a couple of universities on some research for the cosmetic side. All of our cosmetics have been used with CBD isolate. The products that we sell have all been regulated by the CPMP, which is the European Union's cosmetic portal. So they check the ingredients not just for CBD, but obviously for a range of ingredients that you're putting in. And I think it's one of the very sort of big areas in this industry that can be explored further. And from what we've seen, which is only anecdotal evidence at this stage, they can really help people. So we're a huge believer in them.
Right, excellent. So I'm guessing then you've got different topicals geared towards different conditions, let's say. So would you have something sort of geared towards skin conditions such as psoriasis or eczema, and then something else towards maybe like a muscle balm, for example, for sports injuries or arthritis? Is that sort of how you sort of tackle it?
You have to be careful when you get towards the medical claims. Yeah. So you can't say cream is good for acne, psoriasis, eczema. You have to be very careful what you're saying. So we have formulations, for example, balm, which we call a CBD balm. We have also a lotion. And yeah, you just, when you're selling these products, we would call, for example, we have a high strength balm, 1,500 milligrams. We would say it's, you know, may help for anti-inflammatory, that type of thing. So you just have to be careful.
Yeah, you could say something along the lines of CBD has been shown to have these effects in preclinical studies, which is as well as saying, you know, it might help you. The issue is that it's until something's been proven in a clinical study in that specific setting, you can't make any claims on it. So you could, for example, with Epidiolex, which is the medicine for treating childhood epilepsy, they can specifically say, yes, it does this because they've proven it in clinical trials. But if you're wanting to make a cream with anti-aging or acne cream or something that helps repair muscles, at the moment what you have to do is you can put CBD in it, but you need to include another ingredient that does that effect. So you could say it's a lavender balm to help you fall asleep at night with CBD, which might have the same effect. So it's sort of a workaround, but it's what we have to do at the moment, even though you know, like we've had some.
I was going to say that I've got testimonials from clients who swear by it, by saying that, you know, one client was taking a whole host of drugs and he started using our high strength pump, and it's helped him get a lot of movement back in his back, and he can start walking much better. I mean, this is what he's telling us. So it's just that, unfortunately with CBD, like, it's just that grey area where what we know it does or what we can say it does, we have to be very careful. But as this grows on and we get more evidence, we really believe in these products, which is the message that I want to get over.
Yeah, no, I totally understand. Yeah, the way we look at it is you can always direct people to the latest research that's coming out of the US, Israel, etc. But it's like you say, it may help, but you can't actually say it's guaranteed to help you with this. Yeah, it's any medical claims you have to sort of steer clear of. But obviously, you can provide the information so people can do their own research into the potential.
Absolutely. And we put, like Andrew was saying, we put a range of products. So we have a lavender lotion that's coming out, and we would call that a night cream. So you take that before you go to sleep, for example. And that's just how we have to play. You know, we have to say things at the moment.
Excellent. Okay, great. Well, moving on then, let's have a quick thing about, you know, what sort of differences do you see within the UK end user CBD market compared to the market in Europe? Because, you know, they are different even across Europe. Like you mentioned earlier, Andrew, with the difference in the THC content that's allowed to be included in a lot of the products. And again, that varies considerably across Europe. So what sort of the main differences that you see? And I'm guessing really, you know, with like you said earlier, you know, with the opening up and the regulations as they're coming into place in the UK in March, you know, we could be ahead of the game here, really.
Yeah, I think EU is a minefield. I mean, you know, we have customers in various countries that don't have any THC in their products, some that don't. It's difficult to sell CBD. For example, France is a good example. But you've got other countries like Germany, and that's one of our biggest markets, and their laws also are very confusing. So I think the main difference from my perspective in the UK is that the bigger companies here, the supermarket chains, even though not willing to do their own brands, are willing to take on other people's brands, as you will see in Boots and Holland & Barrett, etc. And I think the rest of Europe is looking closely at this whole novel food regulatory standpoint, because once we move to 2021, I'm sure that the European Union as a whole will follow the same framework. So hopefully then that will open up other European markets.
Excellent, thanks. So, right, well, we're sort of starting to get towards the end now, so we'll open it up for questions shortly. So if anyone wants to ask a question, please add it into the chat now, and then we'll run through them. But as we wrap up, guys, obviously, you know, what's prominent in everyone's minds at the moment is the current situation we're in with COVID. So how's that affected your business? And realistically, how do you see us moving forward out of the current situation? You know, has it been good? Has it been bad, really?
I mean, yeah, this is a topic that's on everyone, you know, talk about in every conversation every day. So, I mean, luckily for us, we've actually expanded during the period. So we feel that there's people are looking at a more sort of health-based diet and are interested in taking CBD. I think it's been a big uptake in what people are saying. So from our own business perspective, luckily for us, you know, we've seen it as we've managed to sort of progress the business forward. Ways that it's affected our business is obviously lots of things on Zoom, as we're doing now, and Teams, and that type of social interaction has changed dramatically. Like, you know, nearly all of our meetings now are based on this type of communication. As an industry as a whole, I think with the novel foods as well, our understanding is there won't be any extinctions, although there's been quite a lot of discussion around it. So hopefully for us it's more of a regulatory standpoint, and I think that if and when we start coming out of this, you know, pandemic, then I just see positive steps for the CBD market.
Excellent. Okay, right, well, you know, thanks ever so much, guys. And like I said, everyone, Always Pure Organics, they're actually our silver sponsors for our events in Dublin, London and Zagreb. So, you know, we're really pleased to work with a company such as you guys. Obviously, the credibility that you have, it means a lot to us have you involved with our event. So, okay, let's open it up to some questions then. Has anyone got anything they would either like to ask Sam or obviously Andrew? Now, anyone that joined us a bit late, Sam's the Director of Global Business Development for AP, and Andrew is the Lead Science Officer. So you can get very technical with Andrew if you want.
Yeah, please, asking very technical questions.
I was swatting up beforehand just to make sure I could answer anything.
I hope you've done your revision. So, any questions, anyone? If you just want to put it into the chat, or if you want to raise your hand, I can't see any questions coming at the minute, guys. So,
must be Andrew's answers. They're so in depth.
Yeah.
Right, I was going to say, yeah, fully detailed, Andrew. No, we've actually got one coming in now, and that's from Rishi. So. Right, Rishi, I'll unmute you. Would you like to ask the question yourself? Are you okay to do that?
Wait, can you hear me?
Hi, Rishi. Yes, that's great. We can hear you.
Hi there. Yeah. So basically, as we know, the current market with CBD and stuff like that now, you know, we see Holland & Barrett and retailers like that stocking it. So after 2021, we're going to see a massive shift in the UK and just the way things are marketed and the way things are sort of put in the general everyday consumer space. Just trying to understand what sort of challenges is that going to produce to incoming enterprises, and essentially just the way firms have to be able to market. I understand that sort of keywords, like, you know, using this X might help you with Y and Z, but essentially we're doing our own thing. We're coming out of Europe. Do you think we're going to take more of a stance more towards the US, or are we going to kind of still have our close roots with the EU?
Right. That did cut out a little bit at times there, Rishi. Did you hear that? Okay, guys, are you able to answer that?
Yeah, I think something, you know, around regulation and sort of what products have been marketed in 2021. That was my understanding of the question. In terms of regulation, the industry needed it. So that is the most important point here. I think some of the stuff the FSA has done hasn't been great, but the overall idea of regulating the CBD market is so important because there's so many products now on the market with little or no CBD, with too much THC. We don't have any of toxicology or whether these plants contain pesticides, etc. So the regulatory standpoint is vital for the industry to move forward as one. In terms of what products to be marketed in 2021, I think the one sort of a very safe angle would be topicals, again, going back to the same point, vapes, etc., because they're not part of the novel food standpoint and they have their own frameworks. And then it would be to align with a reputable company selling a raw ingredient, because now you can buy isolate from many companies with just a COA, and that's all they send you is the information. So I think aligning yourself with a company selling a product that's gone through the novel foods process will just make the industry safer and better.
Yeah, and to add to that, it definitely needed some form of regulation. Cannabis as a plant, cannabis or hemp, whatever you want to call it, it's basically a sponge. Regardless of where you grow it, it will absorb literally everything through its roots. There's actually some places where hemp is grown specifically to remove impurities from soil. So things like heavy metals like arsenic, lead, cadmium, that sort of thing, or any pesticides that have been used and have just settled in the soil over the years. The plant it will take literally everything through its roots. Most plants they'll absorb water and whatever macronutrients they need. But that's why it's so important whenever you get a CBD product that you check on the COA for residual solvent testing, pesticide testing, heavy metal testing, because without any sort of regulation, there's no way to be sure that your product is safe to eat or consume in whatever way. Whereas the novel foods process, even though it's not perfectly tailored for CBD, since it's already been on the market and there's already a huge industry booming, they had to form some form of regulation. So again, I think it's very important that there was regulation. Was novel foods the best way to go about it? I can't think of a better option. and the FSA are definitely going to be learning a lot about how to go about it. But it definitely needs to be done, and I think Sam's right in that a cosmetic product or just a non-food product is a very safe product to do as a new product nowadays. If you can't get a supplier that's novel foods approved.
Right, leading on from that as well, Rishi, I saw on the end of your question here on the chat, you said about half of your local suppliers will be gone. Obviously, that's going to be a bit of a problem, guys, you know, when it comes to actually retail outlets for CBD on the high street. I guess a lot of people, as we've seen, are going to be moving towards the online sales anyway, but it's nice to actually have almost like a shop front for your products. So just leading on to that, Rishi, is that something that you really do fear? Is that something that you're seeing straight away now? And then over to you guys in a moment, and you know, as to what we can do to sort of tackle that, really.
Yeah, I think the important things are about education. Like companies like yourselves play a very important role in educating people, especially now it's coming to the spotlight. I don't know if within your mission or your plans for the next year or two is obviously not only to sell high quality CBD products, but also to educate and make people aware. I mean, it was mentioned earlier that you guys are kind of working hand in hand in helping create the regulation model as well. So I guess the general public is where the education needs to be, and I think that is the most challenging thing, considering the stuff you just mentioned about the plant being able to absorb all the heavy metals. Why can't we use this in a wider industrial practice just to benefit the economy? So essentially, I'm just kind of trying to figure out the role of big companies like yourself. Is there a plan to kind of move forward in a little side branch of trying to educate people, or trying to get some content out there?
Well, yeah, I can answer that. I mean, I was just going to say about education, the CBD space is a massive void. There's a massive void of educational gap. So what people understand and what they're being told is a very big difference. So one of our primary objectives is to educate the market on everything that we do. Because we are mainly a white label producer, we have to try and educate our clients to educate their clients, if that makes sense. There's a process through it, and we often set up calls. Me and Andrew go on the call and discuss a whole range of topics about what they're trying to produce and how they're trying to produce it. So they're creating good products, and they can explain the correct information. But just quickly going back to your previous point, I do think that a lot of brands you might see on the high street, especially smaller companies, they may not be around in 2021. That's for sure.
And in terms of educating the public, we have a range of articles on the website written mainly by me. There's some older ones from the sales team. I try not to be too sciencey. I try to make it as accessible as possible, but I also provide references on most of them. So if you do have any interest in articles that are more in depth, you can follow them and see where the information comes from. We're also looking to, now that the science department here at the company is starting to grow, we're also looking to do some actual talks once the pandemic sort of dies down a little bit. I've been speaking to Manchester Uni, and I'm pretty sure I can mention that they've put some interest forward in me going to do a talk with them, presumably for students, but from my experience at university, these talks are usually open to the public as well. And then there's also, we have a couple articles that are being published in a journal that I can't remember off the top of my head.
Medical Cannabis Network.
That's Medical Cannabis Network. So we've got a couple articles being published there. So we're looking to move more into education. There's a lot of things I read online which are either incorrect or misleading, which harms the industry as a whole.
And I was going to say, there's a lot of wild claims. Like we see products that can cure everything from cancer to literally every disease imaginable. Yeah. They don't help anybody because these wild claims, which is certainly not true. That would change 2021 as well.
Yeah, well, moving on, from our perspective as an organisation, education is key to everything that we do, with all of our events. For anyone that attended with us in either London last year or Dublin back in March, the key to everything we do is to bring the world's leading experts together so that people within the UK and Ireland for those two events can get a better understanding of what's actually happening research-wise globally, and also to get some sort of patient feedback as well. Now, obviously, guys, you were with us in Dublin most recently, and we had a number of patient advocates on stage, and also parents of young children like Ms. Toomey, for example, who was on stage, and it can be quite heart-wrenching almost to actually hear the uphill battles that these people have to go through because of the lack of education that's actually within our governments and within the actual policy groups that are meant to be making these decisions for the benefit of the public. So I think it's very important that we get back to doing the live events again as soon as we can, and really get the information out there as much as possible. So, for us, it's really important that we do partner with you guys and make sure that, the research that you are doing basically reaches the audience that we have access to. So, thanks ever so much. We're glad you're doing all these articles, Andrew, and don't worry, we'll be on your case shortly. Don't worry about that. Once we get back to a bit of normality, we'll get you up there again, because obviously you were one of our panelists, weren't you, in Dublin?
Yeah, it was the sort of the wrap up, wasn't it, panel, with a range, I think it was 4 or 5 of us on the stage.
Yeah, that's it, and we think it's just really important that we get quite a broad spectrum when it comes to our the range of participants, let's say, that we have, because the amount of knowledge that is out there is there's a hell of a lot available to people. It's just whether or not they can actually access it. That's our feeling. So let's move on, guys. See if we've got any more questions from anyone. If anyone would like to add a question, please just type it into the chat or raise your hand, and we'll see what we can do. Anyone? Are you there? Right, no, nothing coming up, guys. Oh, no, here we go. Right.
Sorry, just one more from me again.
No worries, Richie, go for it.
So I spent a little bit of time in Canada. I used to work for a chain of dispensaries. Now, just out of curiosity, I wanted to know sort of within this new framework, CBD, within this new sort of model or pathway, has anything for pets come up?
For pets?
For pets.
On humans.
Pets? Yeah, so pets were actually, I don't know how it came about, but the pet stuff was actually cemented well before novel foods. Basically, once CBD started to become popular, the veterinary medical, it's VMD, I don't know what the acronym stands for, it's some veterinary medical directive or something like that. They almost immediately came out and said that any CBD product that's targeted for pets in the UK is considered a medical product. They were right on top of it as soon as it became a thing, and they just said blanket, and if it's got CBD, it's a medicine. Doesn't matter if it's a pet food or if it's just the oil drops, regardless of what it is, it's a medicine, and it has to be sold and regulated as a medicine, which is a huge obstacle to overcome. We've looked at doing a medical product, and currently for us, it's just not feasible. We do not have the capital, we do not have the resources. Maybe in the future, once we're a bit more experienced and we've got a bit more backing behind us, but we can't do, we do...
Yeah, there's a couple of things I was going to say. Like,
so this is just for the UK.
Yeah, UK. So for European Union, you can actually do certain tinctures for pets. You can't actually make pet food out of CBD. But you are allowed to do tinctures, so we have been creating tinctures with a fish oil carrier or a chicken oil carrier. You can actually sell hemp based treats in the UK. So treats that are made out of hemp is fine, CBD isn't. So again, it's another it's another minefield. But for pets in the EU, it's slightly easier, and for pets in the UK at the moment would have to be hemp-based products. So CBD products you need to get a license for.
Yeah, and I know there's a lot of people have asked us about giving CBD oil to their pets. So I'm under no illusions that people are doing it. My advice is for if anyone's given CBD oil to a pet, I would recommend it's THC free. Dogs especially have a much more sensitive endocannabinoid system than humans do. There's THC toxicity is a well-documented phenomenon in pets. It's any vet will be able to tell you the same thing. So no THC whatsoever. And I would not recommend, most oil drops have a glass pipette that you put them under your tongue with. I would recommend don't put this anywhere near your pet's mouth. All it takes is for them to bite it, and suddenly we've got a mouthful of broken glass. My mum actually gives our old spaniel some CBD that we produce. She's getting a bit arthritic and it just helps her be less stiff. And what she does actually is she just drops it onto a spoon and lets the dog lick it off the spoon.
Or you can put it on bread or another treat.
Bread, food.
I've heard that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was my understanding as well, that CBD can actually be prescribed by a vet for your animals if the vet, has pretty much tried everything else. A bit like the sort of guidelines we're up against for a lot of stuff, really, when it comes to wider medical cannabis. But the other thing, though, that's a bit strange about it, there doesn't seem to be any actual product that is approved by the veterinary society that you mentioned for them to recommend. So as you guys said, so if you can actually get a product ready and then get it approved, I think you're going to be very much ahead of the game, because then if anything is going to be prescribed by the vets, they're going to turn to the recommended products that the society recommends. So it's food for thought anyway. So yeah, thanks a lot for that, Rishi. Is there anything you wanted to add at all to your question or to the replies?
No, I've just seen it work very well over in Canada. We used to sell a lot of pet products. Obviously, same as you recommended, we never recommended THC products, anything with THC for dogs. But you just see the most happiest and healthiest of animals. I mean, especially when it comes to stuff like anxiety and things like that. I think it works just massively for pets, and I'm all for it over here.
Cool, excellent. Okay, well, thanks very much. Do we have any more questions at all, guys? Because we're probably getting close now to wrapping up. So unless there's anything else anyone would like to add, please just put it into the chat function or just raise your hand and we'll take it from there. Right, no, I think that's it really, guys. So let's get, thank you ever so much for, dedicating your time to us today. And we really appreciate it. And, we really appreciate what you guys are doing for the industry as well. Like I said earlier, it's we need you to actually help to educate the regulators. It seems like we've got far more knowledge within the industry than they have at the moment. So I think that's a little bit why we're sort of playing catch up as an industry in general, because of the obstacles that they're putting in place, really. So, thank you ever so much. And if there's anything you'd like to add, let us know now.
Thanks for having us. We're very pleased to do it. And like you said, we need to stick together as an industry. So as soon as we can get back to doing events, especially your ones, we'll be very happy. But no, I don't have anything more to add.
Oh yeah, it's always a pleasure to be part of these podcasts. Just always a good opportunity. So thank you for putting this on.
Yeah, no worries at all, guys. And well, like I say, thank you ever so much. We really appreciate it. And yeah, don't worry. As soon as we're back with our live events, we'll get your brand with all that silver sponsorship out there. So we
appreciate that. We have always having to help.
Brilliant. Well, thank you ever so much, and thanks ever so much to all our audience as well. We're really pleased you could join us. Take care now. Thank you.